Hello, I'm horror cartoonist Dennis St. John. I draw monsters and write twisted tales. As you can imagine, I was a little obsessed with Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Lucky for me, so were most of my high school friends, all except one. One friend who stubbornly refused to join the Scoobies. So here we all are, 20-some-odd years later. I'm teaming up with Doc Travis, John, Teach Landis, and maybe a special guest or two, and we're going to make our friend, Michael Poley, watch one episode of Buffy a week until he's no longer the Buffy Virgin.
Welcome to Buffy Virgin, a spoiler-free Buffy the Vampire Slayer podcast. We are going to be casting spells and watching Season 6, Episode 10, Wrecked. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm your host, Dennis St. John. Why don't the rest of you guys introduce yourselves in whichever order you choose?
Hi, my name is Travis. I'm not the Buffy Virgin, but I'm here for the ride.
My name is John. I am always here, and I have just reorganized all of my wires, and I'm feeling extremely good about it.
My name is Michael. I'm the Virgin. I've only seen Buffy up to Season 6, Episode 10, and my wires are in disarray like a pit of snakes on the floor right now. I'm in a pit of snakes.
I wonder if that's a metaphor for something. All right, let's do the summary for this
Everyone
episode.
at one time has a pit of snakes, and we really can't judge them for having a pit of snakes because that snake was probably a mistake. So we should back off.
Just back off,
Snake
man.
mistake. A miss snake.
All right, what happened this episode? Let's listen to the summary.
The summary.
Buffy wakes up angry at herself and Spike for their amazing house-destroying sex. Anya and Xander are planning their wedding, and Amy takes Willow to see Rack, the warlock who gets you high with magic. Willow has plans to take Dawn to see a movie later, but she enjoys getting high so much that she asks Dawn to hang out in Rack's awesome waiting room while she walks on the ceiling. Somehow, a demon accidentally gets summoned, and High Willow steals a car to escape from a demon now in pursuit, and Dawn is basically a hostage. Willow struggles with magical driving and wrecks the stolen car, knocking her out and breaking Dawn's arm. And to make a bad situation worse, there's still that demon after them. Meanwhile, Buffy recruits Spike to help her find the now missing Willow and Dawn, and they show up just in time to fight off that Dawn-hungry demon while Willow regains consciousness and destroys it with magic. At the end of the episode, Buffy is angry, Dawn is in the hospital, and Willow is in bed fighting magical withdrawal symptoms.
Let's get into great lines.
Great lines.
So I chose one of Dawn's lines, and Dawn said to Tara when Buffy and Willow were missing, she goes, "What if they are all in a ditch? Ditches are bad. Mom used to talk about the ditches." Such an adorable phrase.
The ditches, yeah.
The ditches.
My favorite line is when Buffy kind of like corners Amy, who's going through Willow's room. And Buffy's like, "What is this? It's sage. It is what I think it is." Like, just the drug bust.
Was that marijuana? That's what I couldn't figure out.
The implication is that Amy's worried that Buffy will think it's marijuana, but that it's just sage. And Buffy's like, "Yeah, I know it's sage. That's actually what I am worried about."
Oh.
Magic things are drugs.
It's such a magic is drugs in a simulation of drugs.
Yeah. This is from Willow. The magic wasn't all great. I won't miss the nosebleeds and headaches and stuff. Or keeping stinky yak cheese in my bra. Don't ask.
I knew when I watched this episode, I knew that you were going to pick that line. I was like, he is so going to pick that line.
This isn't really a great line as much as it is a gross line, where Spike is like, "I may be dirt, but you're the one who likes to roll in it, Slayer." It's accurate and apt about this relationship. Spike knows what's up.
Yeah, that's really getting right down to what's going on. Let's go into the kill count.
The kill count.
So this episode has drug trips, 2 hallucinated dead girls, which I could not decide whether they actually belong to the kill count or not, 1 car accident, 1 dead demon, and lots of skin this episode.
Lots of Spike skin.
Lots of Spike skin, but
Lots
some
of
Buffy
weird-
and some Willow.
Spike is like, James Marsters is a real inspiration for people of my build, that you can be both incredibly thin and muscly at the same time.
Well, like
If I
Jesus.
worked out, maybe I could achieve that. That'd be great.
I'm glad he's inspiring you. Let's move on to weird noticings and trivia, although that was a very weird noticing, John.
Weird noticings.
So this episode starts off with a Looney Tunes cartoon. I feel like the last time we saw Looney Tunes was in a room full of dead teenagers. So a little bit like back to this well, but it's good to see Don and Tara are in fact alive.
Not a big deal. We've been calling this out for ages, but the way that this show plays fast and loose with the sunlight on vampires, not like they don't even care. Like there's if you look at I put a screenshot at the bottom, very bottom there, you can see like a sunbeam is literally going across Spike's throat as he lies in the rubble, and nobody's bothered.
Yeah. I also love that he's like, it's daytime, so he's just going to hang out in this rubble house all day.
Yeah, the whole day.
And I wouldn't call this out, but last week we spent a lot of time talking about the outfit Buffy was wearing at the end of last episode. A good, 8 hours later, she puts on an entirely different outfit. I just want to know how that happened. But this scene is intense and weird.
It is. I mean, the grossness of it is, they do a decent job of making that very palpable. But
Yeah.
I would kind of like to either write or more likely read a fanfic in which Buffy and Spike start a demolition company where they go around just having sex in people's houses that need to be demolished. I think that'd be really fun.
I mean, it is. Buffy's just such a bad mom to Dawn this morning, and really just a complete wasteoid. And I put it in questions for the group because I just want to talk about what is Spike and Buffy's relationship right now, because there's something that feels really true about this relationship at this point, because we're spending way more time in a place that I'm uncomfortable with, which is this weird, rocky back and forth between the two of them. So it's coming from a place of truth at this point. It has to be to sustain whatever's happening right now. But I've never been there. I've never been where they are, where both people hate each other / love each other / hate themselves or something. It is just a weird, messy place. I'm curious what people think about their relationship right now, but we can save for questions. But
Yeah. When Amy comes in, Amy is really reminding me of early Anya in this kitchen episode, where it was especially the line of like, it's Amy the rat. Oh, I'm sorry. She's like, no, it's accurate. I used to be rat.
One cool little zoom in and enhance thing that you don't have to zoom in that far for is during the research scene, Xander is reading a book titled Tobin's Spirit Guide, which, as I'm sure we all know, is from Ghostbusters. It's a little Ghostbusters reference.
Is this stating that Buffy and Ghostbusters take place in the same universe now?
Oh, that would actually kind of make a fair amount of sense. I actually kind of like that thought.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because they're both really campy.
yeah, or just like, I feel like the approach to horror comedy is strikes a similar tone and balance in a way. And I feel like there's nothing incompatible about the two universes. I feel like that could work.
Yeah, I think they could exist on the same laws, basically.
I wouldn't want to see the crossover. I think that would be boring. But but I like the idea. I like the idea they're in the same universe. That works for me.
Well, you don't want to see the Ghostbusters out of their element, like being attacked by vampires.
Just given...
I mean, I'm
And,
more
like,
worried about
wishing
the
for
damage to
ghosts.
Buffy than the damage to Ghostbusters. I'm not one of these
Yeah.
weird, protective, creepy Ghostbusters fanboys.
Okay.
that-
Well, yeah, given the toxic fandom of Ghostbusters nowadays.
I'm certain that on the real Ghostbusters cartoon show, I'm sure they explored vampires, right?
Oh, I'm sure they had to have.
Like,
That show went on for so long.
and they're really into the Chosen One in that universe too. So it would be just one rewrite away from making Ghostbusters into a Buffy movie.
Is this the first time Willow's magic meter has run down to 0 and has to recharge?
Seems to be.
Yeah.
She seems surprised by it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that means she didn't even get down. She didn't even get down to 0 after she resurrected Buffy, right?
Yeah.
She could still do some stuff. Yeah, that's wild.
I do kind of love that scene though, where she's trying to shut the window with magic, like just to put the light out. I want that magic spell too. So I totally understand. That scene where Buffy and Xander and Anya are trying to figure out what's up with Willow, and Buffy's rationalizing while Willow is like what Willow is doing and how she's fine, while Xander and Anya are like totally truth talking about what's up with that, and Buffy's like, no, she's fine. Like, that's, man, anytime someone's gone off the rails in life, like this conversation, I love that. That felt like the best. That was like the scene that defined this episode for me. I loved it.
It's cool. Yeah. And in typical like Buffy fashion, she's defending Willow because of the shit in her own life that she's like,
Yeah.
like if I admit Willow has a problem, then I have to admit I have a problem. So Willow is fine.
Totally.
But like the best part is like it's season 6 and like Buffy is still doing the same weird like verbal rationalization for her behavior that she would do in like season 1 or season 2 or season 3. It's like she's still that person, which is great.
Trav, what's this about the song?
Oh yeah, sorry, missed that. No, just if you were curious, like what song was playing, because I was like, oh, this song is pretty cool. It's the band is called Laika or Laika, Laika, and the song is Black Cat Bone. And the album's from the year 2000. And if you want to listen to music, I think this is the music. I've never heard music more underproduced than this album. I mean, this album really sounds like it was recorded on 2 tracks. I mean, it is so painfully underproduced, but it's pretty good. Like it's definitely, it scratches a really interesting itch. Like it's almost like grunge. I mean, it's almost like grunge music, this actual album, but it's actually quite good and interesting. So I would, if you want to listen to something where it's like so underproduced, like it's crazy, like it's refreshingly underproduced.
And this is the song that we hear when Willow gets high.
When she's on the ceiling. Yeah. When she's on the ceiling. Yeah.
Okay.
It's super interesting. It's like a Dogma 95 movie. Like I feel it's like the song, the album equivalent of a Dogma movie, where like you can only use like natural sounds and like the electricity you can generate by like a exercise bicycle. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
There's so much being stimulated in that scene that feels like 90s cringe, and I think underproduced 90s cringe.
So she's getting high because of a warlock named Rack, who's played by Jeff Kober.
Yeah.
Michael, did you recognize Kober?
No,
because he played a vampire in season 3. He's the vampire, Zachary something? He's
Zachary Kralik.
Kralik. He's the dude who kidnaps Joyce in the trials, in the Slayer trials.
You remember when the Watcher Council had the craziest vampire, and they hypnotized Buffy, and that's him, same guy.
Buffy defeats him by tricking him into drinking holy water because she doesn't.
And he gets off on rubbing the cross on his nipple or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's so weird. This is the council episode. This should trigger Mike in all kinds of ways. Like it's a big bad council. It triggers me. This is where Giles is injecting Buffy with poison.
Gosh, guys, I'm so disappointed in myself. I didn't recognize Rack. It just seemed like vaguely creepy dude who had no makeup.
He's also a very recognizable character actor in general.
Yeah.
He's on
a million things.
He's got he's got a super distinctive face and voice, and he's like this weird mutated version of.
He looks like Steve Tyler from Aerosmith.
Yeah. But I was thinking of who's Batman? Who's the third?
Val Kilmer.
Val Kilmer.
Yeah.
He's like Val Kilmer's
he's like a fucked up Val Kilmer. Yeah.
Well, no, not like an effed up Val Kilmer.
He's like a Val Kilmer who's already wearing vampire makeup.
He's an alternate. He's like an alternate dimension Val Kilmer. Like we have these pocket dimensions. There's that guy, and he's doing Val Kilmer's roles. In this dimension, Val Kilmer has that guy's roles.
I also like it turns out Amy's been going to this dude since high school. And like,
Yeah,
to me,
that strains credibility. That she
No,
was
to me-
like in senior year sneaking off to do this shit seems
to
like
me,
a lot.
to me, this felt real because I was like, you know, that feeling you get when like you find out your friend has been into like some shit you didn't have any idea
yeah,
about.
okay.
Like really, Amy doesn't like back in high school. They didn't know that much about Amy. Like Willow was part of her coven for like one episode. You know, like I don't know. I believe it when you find out like your friends have just been like a friend has just been doing like way more serious shit than you have, and you're like, oh, I thought we were joking this whole time. Is this the first like true like getting high scene in Buffy?
I mean, other people have gotten high, right? Like in the world of Buffy, but I think for the Scooby Gang, they don't get high. So, I mean, but then there's been like PSA vibes to some of these episodes. Like this could be a season 1 episode for how over the head it gets with this stuff. Like hits you over the head with the messaging.
Were you all relieved or impressed or just not impressed by or thankful, possibly a combination of all of those, that there were no visible minorities in the drug house? Like I was very thankful that they did not do that.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
I was very thankful. But I don't know if it just happened by accident, because we know that Buffy has like a whiteness problem.
Yeah.
Well, if this was Angel, they definitely would have dealt with that.
I think that the visual reference here is not so much whatever else they'd be referencing. I think the visual reference here is train spotting.
Yeah.
I think that they're doing train spotting, and that's why like I was thinking about like it's so weird that like the drug house has a waiting room, like it's a doctor's office, but that's kind of the vibe in Train Spotting too. Like when they go to Mother Superior and it's like there's sort of a like waiting room vibe to it.
Yeah, and the way that Willow is dealing with the consequence of the drug, like the come down is very much like the nausea of like coming off of heroin, right? Like that convulsions and stuff. That's at least from my experience as a viewer in Train Spotting.
Right.
And the whole hanging on the ceiling is like a direct Train Spotting reference, right? That's like the dead baby.
Yeah, except...
Can I ask the Demon Doctor a question?
Yes.
Demon Dr. Dennis, what is the Demon Rack up to when he's just grabbing on Willow and getting her life force?
That's a good question, because it is like, what is this guy's business model?
Tell us his demon business model.
I mean, this is one of those episodes where like the whole like the metaphor totally breaks down, because like Amy keeps saying like spells that last for days, which is really puzzling to me, because it's like, haven't all these spells always last forever? Like Buffy's not gonna die again when the spell wears out, right? Unless you're talking about the spells being explicitly drug trips. I mean, he must be absorbing some of her life force or something. That's what I'm reading. And that's why everybody looks so drained in the waiting room. But I'd really prefer to just see an exchange of money for magic drugs.
How do you feel that he told her she tasted like strawberries?
Yeah. It's gross.
Are you asking me as a doctor of demons?
Right, because he has to get a taste before he can offer them the drugs, right?
Yeah.
Like they're getting close.
Honestly, that's just a weird play in her strawberry red hair. Like, if anything, Willow would taste like metal or iron. Like, she's really powerful. She's done a bunch of weird stuff. Like, she's not some girly girl or exceptionally effeminate or...
Well, I think that is not girly, but I think that is sort of the role she's playing in this episode, is that she's the newcomer to this. She's the innocent one, and her innocence is what makes her a commodity.
But strawberries are not innocent.
You're supposed to get vibes of like sexual exploitation from that.
Yeah, but strawberries is just a fruit. It's not like an innocent fruit or like a...
It
is
though, dude.
It
is
ripe.
There's red.
The connotation, is that she's a berry ready to be plucked. Yeah, exactly. It's gross, and it's supposed and it's intentionally gross. It's meant.
Where do strawberries fall on the line of sexually explicit fruit? Less explicit than bananas. More explicit than kiwis.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Some kiwis.
Dude, you nailed it. That's so funny. Just like I can totally see that infographic playing out over this episode.
Yeah.
I guess admittedly strawberries have like a really like kind of rough shelf life.
So, Mike, what
are we even talking about?
Well, I mean, I want to spend more time on this getting high stuff. I really do. I mean, maybe we can do it at the end to just because you kind of have to see the whole episode, kind of where it goes. But the scene after the first, I guess, like let's hang and get high, where Willow's being comforted by Tara's clothes is very sweet and sad, and it's frustrating to me because I really like that scene, but I don't like this episode. And I just want to pluck a few things out of this episode and make a new episode with them. And that's one of them. I really like that scene.
Yeah, I think this is one of the episodes people have a really hard time with when they think about, at least like what I do, when I think about season 6, I think about this string of episodes and I'm like, what the fuck even is this? What happened to the show, man?
I'm going to go out on a limb here. I think this is my least favorite episode of all of Buffy, maybe, because it's so dumb. Like the drug metaphor is so underthought out, and so it's so explicit, and then they go nowhere interesting with it. And it feels very clear that, like, at least I'm sure. I mean, I don't want to oversay what I'm trying to say, because like I'm sure there are people who have actually dealt with addiction. I've never have. For whom this may, I'm sure there's somebody out there who has dealt with addiction who actually feels like this metaphor is really meaningful to them. But I think more likely it's just complete nonsense written by people who have never experienced it in real life, and it just feels very fake and very forced. Yeah,
that's something I forgot to bring up earlier. Is like I used to have this Steve Bissett used to have this thing where he'd always call out when drugs were being used in a movie, where he's like, that actor doesn't know what, like, has never been high in their life. So he would like RoboCop 2 was a big one. He would all call out. He was like, nobody in this entire scene has ever gotten fucking messed up, and you could tell.
Well, I mean, Frank Miller's probably never done drugs.
Yeah,
he just drank,
exactly.
He just drank till he blacked out, woke up, and he had drawn a cartoon. You know.
Well, I think what rings false is that essentially Willow hits rock bottom within like 12 hours. Real addiction, you don't hit rock bottom that quick.
Right.
And immediately it's been brewing over time, but still, that's kind of one of the major problems with it for sure. And another issue is that their use of magic as a drug metaphor, you wouldn't take your younger ward to your crack house or your heroin den. That's not how addiction works. You don't bring your friends and family to do the drugs.
It's just going to be a minute, dude. It's just going to be a minute. Look, we're just going to miss the trailers. No big deal. I'll be right back, okay? Just hang out in this waiting room.
That may work if it's like picking up weed, but it's like you don't, it's one thing to go in to pick up some weed, but it's like that doesn't really happen with heroin or other hard drugs, it feels like. But
yeah, Rack didn't provide like a doggy bag for the magic drugs, right?
A doggy bag.
No, you got to be present to receive the gift from Rack.
Plus, it was really inconvenient. Like, clearly, you have to get high and stay there, which is also not like how most drugs work. It's like these drugs must be consumed on the premises of your drug dealer. It's like I feel like that's not how things work. So I think that's why it rings false. One of the many reasons.
Yeah. Well, also the whole thing of like magic being drugs is like magic was also the thing that empowered her at the beginning of the series, and in season 4 it was like about her sexual awakening and everything, and now it's always been about drugs the entire time and we just didn't know it. It's like,
yeah, the metaphor doesn't work for that reason, and also because like, spoiler alert, like they revert on this. Magic isn't always a metaphor for drugs. Like they do go back at some point, and then it just feels like, all right.
Are you kidding me?
But
what?
But what, Willow was always very, very smart and very sciencey. Like, why have they dropped that as one of her qualities? That Willow wasn't always about magic. Willow was a smart person, well-intentioned, a hero, willing to do the right thing. Like, that's Willow. And like the magic came later, but she was always a good person first, it felt like.
Well, I mean, I feel like that part maybe rings true. I mean, I think that's sort of like when she brings out the laptop and everybody's sort of shocked that she can't even just use a laptop normally. I feel like that part works, that it's sort of just, it's a thing that distorts her personality.
Yeah. So I don't know. She's like struggling. Like, what am I? Just some girl without the magic. But it's like, you're this amazing science expert. You know, the only person who's better at science than you made a Frankenstein monster. Right.
That's
And you've been using your science to update the Buffy bot with like technology that's unavailable to the U.S. military. I mean, but we're here for you, Willow.
John, I think you ask a very important question here.
Oh, not really. I mean, we kind of talked about it in great lines, but there's this moment where Amy is stealing a bunch of things, including sage, from Willow's bedroom. And I just want to know, does Amy know that you can just buy sage in a store? I mean, Buffy does, again, sort of call this out in the episode. And maybe it's sort of meant to, really impart just how stupid drugs make you. But she's just like, because it's bad. It reminds me of, you know what it reminds me? It reminds me of, there's a moment in Trainspotting where he says, we would have injected vitamin C if only they'd made it illegal. And I feel like Amy's having this moment where she's just in such the drug addict mindset that she has to steal sage. Yeah. It doesn't even occur to her she can go buy it for like $1.
It reminds me of that Clone High did an episode about drugs, but it was all about raisins. Getting high on raisins. I really laughed, though, inappropriately at the scene where they see the demon and Willow's like, "Don't worry, Dawn, it's not real." Dawn saw it. Like, Willow, you dummy. You druggy dum-dum. Don't worry, Dawn, you're reacting to my hallucination. We're fine.
How unimportant is that monster in this episode? How uninterested are the writers in that monster?
Yeah.
They're just
totally.
They just feel so rote. Like,
it's also a big idea, the idea that you can, while you're high, accidentally summon a demon from hell, which is where he states he's from. Like, that's a really large idea, and it's like they do nothing with it. The actor who does it, who's the demon, is pretty good though. He does the like neck thing throughout. But also, this episode has the problem of, like, when the Slayer isn't around, Dawn and Willow just have to be able to kick a demon, and he flies across, like, the street. I was like, this guy doesn't seem that tough. Dawn can kick him.
I was going to ask, was the demon summoned as a consequence of, like, the getting high spell? Like, that's the price you pay with Rack?
I don't know. I don't know if it's not stated.
It's never,
right?
Yeah, never. I mean, that would also explain why there's so many demons in Sunnydale. There's a magical drug ring house
and it's just such an annoying sort of morality piece that they bring into it, right? Like, it just feels like this is her comeuppance for being a gross drug addict. That, you have to, there's this consequence that comes and gets you, as opposed to the actual literal consequences, which feel much more real, like about, I'm not, in charge of my faculty, so I am unsafe with a young person. Like,
right. Well, I think that if it was written better, it would feel like a big connection to Giles's Ripper days. Because what did Giles do when he was a kid? He would summon a demon to get high.
Right.
If they explicitly said that's what Willow was doing, that would make sense. But they don't. It just looks like a thing that happened, like her hallucination became real by accident, right?
This is such a condescending episode.
Yeah.
Like, condescends to the audience and to the characters. I mean, it's really a bummer. Did they get paid? I mean, question, did they get paid by a government body to do this PSA?
Well, if you recall, we discussed this in the Beer Bad episode. There is evidence that they did. But I believe that would have been a season 4 episode. There's no proof that it was necessarily Beer Bad, or that even that such an episode was actually produced.
But now we're on a new network, and who knows the deal, right? This is
and I think if I recall, the government program that allowed them to sort of like, it was like they could trade PSA time for and then still sell that as advertising, because they could count the program as a PSA if they put enough anti-drug messaging in the actual program. But I believe that was like a weird program that only ran for a couple of years, so I don't think it was still going on, if I remember my research from when we did Beer Bad.
It's because it was so successful, it just timed out.
We just don't have no longer has a drug problem.
It's got no drug problem, man.
I mean,
Did you-
sure, kids use too much sage these days, but
Well, this
Now it's all Tide Pods and internet porn. Did you guys like how like Willow was able to disintegrate the demon? I mean, like that was crazy.
yeah.
That was a neat effect. But this car wreck scene, I just want to talk about the car scene because it's crazy. And it also like it just escalates what's going on in this scene, and it's just this episode, and just like, hey guys, let's just get this done. Can we get this done now? Let's just get it done. Let's take this to where it's going. Because like if isn't this scene in it and Willow's just high and Dawn is disappointed, then it's like, cool, we can stew in this for 3 more episodes. But instead it's like, fucking guys, let's fucking act 3 this shit. Let's get this done. So Willow, they're running from the demon, and like commandeers a vehicle, magically steals a car, and then doesn't drive it. Like she's like, just, I'm having fun, guys. I'm not even gonna touch the steering wheel, and she's laughing. Dawn is freaked out. Like that made me laugh. Willow laughing made me laugh in that scene because I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? Where is this going? And then when they wreck the car horrifically, it's like my jaw dropped. I couldn't believe they did that to these characters. This scene is such a mess because it's like, now Willow is completely irredeemable as a character. She endangered Dawn and like totally fucked herself up too. Like this is such a crazy turn for the scene. Like we've had crazy turns in scenes, like when this brought me back to when Cordelia stepped through like the hole in the floor and then impaled herself. Like this is serious fucking trauma. Willow could definitely be dead from this scene. So could Dawn. And instead, like they're just revving up the engine to like to shut down this storyline. But like, this is so traumatic. This whole sequence, like, this is a crazy scene. I don't like it. It bothers me so much. And then it gets resolved quickly. But man, like this could be a really good scene somewhere else. But I don't like where it comes from because it comes out of the like weird, condescending magic scene to like a very realistic, terrifying car scene that like is done with just such dramatic realism. Like we've seen this in other like kind of teen movies. I can't remember the name of the teen movie that I've seen this in, this same kind of car scene, but it ends with somebody dying and like we don't come back to it. But like, I don't know. It's just,
I know what you did last summer.
This is just such a realistic scene with like a weird, unrealistic payoff. And it makes the emotions really good at the end of this, where Buffy turns on Willow and she's like, I can't trust you. And like irredeemably can't be trusted. But man, it doesn't belong. I don't like how it sits in this episode. So that's kind of my WTF. I don't know how you guys feel about this car scene. I mean,
I one of the things that's weird is like we see how fast they're going, and then they hit that like pole or whatever full speed, but then neither Buffy or neither Dawn or Willow is like that injured. It feels like if they're gonna like make it feel like such a real car crash, they should like deal with some real broken bones.
But Dawn does have a broken bone.
She does have a
end.
broken bone, yeah.
Yeah.
But it does. It feels like a pulled punch because it does feel like, and it just, I think what makes it feel that way is not so much that Dawn is the level of Dawn's injury, is that how quick Buffy is to almost forgive Willow, and they sort of talk it out in one conversation. And I mean, I think we know that the situation, like, it's not completely resolved, but the way that conversation goes, Willow immediately comes around to, I'm out of control and I need to stop doing this. And Buffy's like, yeah, you do.
Yeah. Well, it's because it's just like Buffy, again, like not even really thinking about Willow in that scene, but thinking about herself, right?
Right.
But I really do actually like the scene right before that where they're still in the alley and Buffy and Willow is like so demanding, like that her apology be immediately accepted, and and Buffy is just so done with that shit. Just like she's like, I'm not even gonna like have this discussion right now. I just want you to go away. And then I do think it's funny that Dawn mentioned Joan Crawford earlier this episode, since she's the one dramatically slapping Willow. I don't know. Is the metaphor just completely broken down when we see at the end Willow going through withdrawals? It's like, what is this magic withdrawal?
Willow, for inspiration, I'm going to need you to watch this scene from Trainspotting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, the spells are leaving my body. My body can't produce spells on its own anymore. But I did laugh also at seeing the garlic on the windows, because like Buffy could not reasonably be like, before you quit Magic Hole Hug, can you disinvite Spike? So she has to do like her own disinvite, which is just garlic on the windows. All right, let's move on to questions for the group.
Questions for the group.
Okay, well, I just want to spend a little time in this because we live here now. What is Spike and Buffy's relationship right now? What's going on here?
Hate sex.
Yeah. Friends with detriments.
I mean, I think
stole that
I'm
from
probably the one.
XKCD, sorry.
I'm probably the one who's like the most on board. I mean, I feel like this relationship makes sense. Sadly enough, Buffy's a superhero. She can't be with regular men, and Spike's not a regular vampire.
I mean, one thing we definitely didn't get into in this episode, because it's mostly about Willow, is like Spike's incredibly like misogynistic behavior. I mean, like this. There's a reason I'm like recommending Italian movies when it comes to recommendations this week, because it's like this is very much from the like theory of like consent is like if you like it, right?
Damn. Yeah, he gets away with a bunch of misogynistic remarks when they're even out to. I mean, early in the episode, but then when they're out to go find Dawn when Dawn's missing, and Spike's been sleeping all day. What the heck? Like. They're so cutting to each other, and it's painful to watch as a viewer to see them cut at each other like that. I want the resolution of them to just agree to be together, but that's not how this works. Like Buffy hates herself, Spike wants her but can't. He has to be authentic to who he is and like how he feels about them. It's just it's such an odd place to be. It feels like I want this relationship to be on the way somewhere, and I don't know where, like to some kind of resolution. But I think this is the relationship because I can't see them getting out of this cycle they're in.
Right.
Of like hate and frustration, push away, and then showing up together again because like you said, Buffy's a superhero and Spike hates himself. But
Spike likes himself.
Yeah. Well, this mutual fetish they have for each other. Whereas, she's a slayer and he's a vampire and that's kind of her thing. Even though she doesn't want to talk about it. Put it into words.
What was your favorite culinary mistake? Could be from high school, could be from now. I'll start out. I think maybe 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago, I once made a sandwich that had peanut butter and turkey and cheese. And it was actually very good.
No, it wasn't. No.
Yeah, it was. So, I mean, that's the only weird. I mean, she makes a peanut butter and banana quesadilla, which actually sounds amazing. But
no, it doesn't.
But Dawn does.
My question about a peanut butter banana quesadilla is: does it still have cheese in it, or is it just peanut butter and banana?
Oh no, it would just have peanut butter and banana in there.
Then it's not a quesadilla.
Well, it's between two tortillas.
That's not the depth.
Queso. I understand. Tortilla and queso is quesadilla.
Yeah.
I agree. I think you're right, though, because I did freeze frame it and look at all the ingredients that are out on the counter, and I don't see any cheese.
You did? Okay, good. I'm glad we've done this research.
So what are your culinary mistakes? I know Mike mentioned at one point some sort of fish sardine salad or something that he gets in trouble with his partner.
Yeah, I mean, this is
anchovy salad.
COVID is bringing out some bad recipes for sure, and canned sardine, rice, avocado, and leftover salad in a bowl.
That sounds all right. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It sounds awesome, right?
You're either like a canned sardine person or you're not.
Yeah. I mentioned already on this podcast before my anchovy and egg tacos, which I really liked, but it was definitely a wake-up call of like, COVID is doing strange things. I'm getting way too into myself, into my own like food taste. But I did it like another 2 times after even mentioning that, because I was like, I still got more cans of anchovies.
Well, I'm definitely getting to a weird place with my vinegar-based hot sauce and then my habanero-based hot sauce, and I realize I can't cross those streams anymore. Like that's feeling a little bit too much. So if you're going
because of the The heartburn, or
just they don't mix very well. So I'm when I do the sardine dish, I go all vinegar, hot sauce, and I stay away from the habanero sides. Even though the kind of protein that can unite them in a sardine vinegar salad dish is an egg, which egg can handle the habanero and the vinegar, but you just got to go full vinegar, hot sauce. Anyway, this is the gross stuff I'm doing.
Yeah. No, I think COVID is really bringing out. I made a culinary, like, what do I have thing that actually turned out really well, of like a sweet potato, fried collard greens, and an egg, and then like cayenne pepper and hot sauce. And it was like my favorite meal that week for sure.
I mean, I'm locked up with like my wife, who's an incredible cook, and I'm extremely lucky. Just like, she's making sourdough bread, she's making elderflower wine as I speak. Just I have never eaten so well.
Isn't there some amazing or unfortunate flour shortage going on in the UK right now? That's what I hear about.
Oh yes, that's true. The flour shortage is real. We struggled for a long time to get flour. I didn't know. Were you guys not experiencing the flour shortage in the States?
We have other shortages.
The flour
definitely
shortage
flour
is very
yeast.
real. But we managed to get like a big industrial bag of flour because Harriet she scoured the internet for a place that had like a giant bag of flour that would deliver it to our house. So unfortunately, I have to ask a question now that takes us back to talking about this episode. What do you guys think? Do you think that Giles, if he was still around, would he have like been able to stop this shit? Would he have been able to be like, you guys, I've been there. Like Dennis said, I've done the whole magic demon to get high thing. Would he have been able to like keep this under control, or at least have kept Dawn out of danger?
Am I leaving Dawn in danger? Is my slayer too far?
Yes, apparently he was. Yeah.
I mean, yes, obviously, like, they can't do this episode with Giles. They can't do a drug episode with Giles around because Giles is such a reasonable human being and would get them out of this trouble / prevent them from doing it. You can't have a dad and do this. I mean, this whole season is just like, what if Giles wasn't a part of the show?
Yeah. What if there's no adults? Yeah. Yeah. I would have liked Giles in this episode.
Giles finds out. He's like, I leave for 1 week and they're off screwing vampires and doing magic drugs. Dawn's in the hospital.
Dogs and cats living together.
I'll admit it. Like, it would be more like impactful if Giles had yelled at Willow at the end of the episode. Like, for sure.
Let's talk themes and deep stuff.
Deep stuff.
Well, a lot of this episode is about responsibility, responsibility to be a parent to Dawn. And there is an implicit responsibility and guilt that Buffy and Willow feel to raise Dawn or to be there for her. But they don't talk about it. There's no coordination. They have not put into words what that responsibility is or how they would maintain that relationship. And I mean, clearly that's a big challenge here, is what it means to be responsible. And I think, like, for this episode at least, like, putting that into words and having clarity around it, that would be really helpful. But I think most of us live in this world of implicit versus explicit responsibility. Like, there's a lot of assumed assumptions about who you are and how you behave and what your responsibilities are. Like, Tara is not explicitly responsible for Dawn, but is present for Dawn, even though she doesn't even live in the house with them anymore. So, like, I guess that's what I connected with this episode, was about what it means to be responsible. And then, of course, Willow's self-indulgence and Buffy's self-indulgence, like, they're really harmful to other people, but they both want kind of so badly to be irresponsible too. Like, but there's a lot of guilt that comes with being irresponsible.
God, they're 20 years old? I kind of want to be like, go for it, guys. Like, have sex with weird people and do weird drugs. Like, what else are you supposed to do when you're that age?
Take care of your younger sister, obviously.
Yeah. It's just, and that is true for a lot of people. A lot of people don't get to be irresponsible at that age. I mean, I did because that was one of the many privileges I have enjoyed in my life. But you feel bad that they don't get to just do that.
I guess you could feel sorry for them because they can't be irresponsible. There's too many consequences for them. I mean, that's not even with the responsibility of being a slayer, which is we're taking care of Sunnydale. Like, we don't even deal with that problem in this episode, even barely. It's more about just taking care of Dawn and being a parent. Yeah, I think that felt like the theme for this horrible episode. That has two such great moments. You guys.
What are the two great moments?
Oh, just that amazing car wreck. That would have been great if it were real. And then they could have killed both those characters and I would have been amazed by this show. But instead they pulled the punch, right? Of what the consequences were. And then Willow enjoying the sweater or whatever, Tara's clothes. I feel like you could build a whole episode out of that. That was great.
So let's move on to recommendations.
Recommendations.
I chose some drug movies first. I chose The Trip, the Roger Corman, not really a classic, but the movie that we wouldn't have as many drug movies without this movie. It was the kind of the setup for it. And then I jumped all the way to A Scanner Darkly. Scanner Darkly is good, honestly. It's a good movie. It's a good book. I had a super weird moment while listening to the book on tape where they explicitly mention the mountains the mountains between Napa Valley and Santa Rosa, and I was driving those mountains at the same time, and I was like, "Whoa, what?" Because in that future, Napa Valley, instead of becoming like this $1 billion wine county, becomes like where drugs are harvested instead. And then the more modern from last year, Midsummer, because that movie actually shows drug trips in a way that I feel is realistic, and it's something that's very rarely actually happens in movies. So I felt like it was worth shouting out when it is done well, when it does feel like, oh, these guys know what it's like to do mushrooms. And then I'm going to recommend a pair of Italian giallos starring Edwidge Finch, partially because I watched The Strange Vice of Mrs. Ward last night, and right after watching this episode of Buffy, and I felt like it connected in that there's the misogynist male serial killer who actually looks a lot like Spike, same body type, bleached blonde hair, and leather jacket, and it's the same kind of attitude of I couldn't have raped you because you liked it. Then because the same actress and it's the same time period and stuff. All the Colors of the Dark is her movie where she gets involved in a cult and has all these hallucinatory scenes that feel a lot like what Willow went through, and also involves stalking men. So those are my recs for this week. Anyone else have anything?
We talked about Trainspotting a lot, and apparently Ghostbusters.
Let's recommend those also then. All right, why don't we do predictions?
Virgin predictions.
All right, Michael, you are currently rated at a 63.77% as a predictor of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and at a 71.79% as a predictor of season 6. We're going to see if we can screw those numbers up for you. So not a lot to talk about this episode, just a couple here. Okay, so in season 4, episode 14, Michael, you predicted that Willow will be identified as a bad witch. Now, there's a moment in this episode where they're talking about finding the drug waiting room, and Spike says, you have to be in on the big bad, like a vampire or a witch. Now, by implication there, being a witch is bad, and Willow is one. So she is specifically the witch who has found Rack's drug waiting room. So does that identify Willow as a bad witch? What do you think?
I really don't think you
too much?
had to. I don't think you had to go into such detail. You just had to be like, Willow is obviously a bad witch in this episode. It's confirmed.
The verb here is identify. She has to be identified.
I just want to confirm it
Yeah.
because she's a bad witch, but not because of this weird, like, tiny little verbiage.
She's using evil magic. Yeah, she's a bad witch right now.
Yeah. I'm fine with giving this a confirmation.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and confirm that.
Oh, great.
Very good. Okay, and one more to talk about here, which is in season 6, episode 8. Just a couple of episodes ago, Michael, you made a super prediction where you predicted that Buffy and Spike will break up in season 6. Now, because of everything we've talked about, I think this is a tricky one because Buffy and Spike can't really break up unless they're together. But I feel like to the degree to which they are together because they kissed in the musical episode or whatever, they are now sort of broken up when Buffy storms off away from him after having slept with him. But it's obvious they're going to do it again. I don't know. Could this be, are they breaking up and getting back together repeatedly, or are they having one long relationship? I feel like it's sort of, are they doing any of those things? I don't know.
I wouldn't confirm this one yet. Just
okay.
This whatever's going on with them is still going.
Yeah, we're gonna leave this one alone because if there is a moment, it has not arrived. I think we can agree with that. Okay, that was just one confirmation, thus raising your overall accuracy to a. Dennis, do you have something?
Oh no, I'm looking, but I don't see anything. I'm surprised we don't have more about like Willow's magic drug use thing.
Yeah, there is one about an intervention, but I feel like that has not happened because I didn't want to talk about that one because it's really just Buffy. So
yeah.
Okay, so that, Michael, puts you at a 63.86 overall accuracy, and for season 6, you are raised to a 72.5%.
Great. Well, appreciate the confirmation, and let's move on with some more predictions. Number 1 here. I believe there's no consequences for Willow stealing and destroying a car in this episode, season 6, ep 10. Not only she stole a car, she totaled it. But no one cares.
Not my car, not my
no
problem.
consequences. And I guess I just want, because this could rack up at the end of season 6, and I see you're highlighting it now, I just want to make a comment to that, which is like, if there's no consequences in like this season, in season 6, like this one's done. It's confirmed.
So you're saying that there's a chance that there'll be an ongoing like D or C plot where the police try to track down a car thief.
Worst crime that's happened in Sunnydale in years.
Yeah, car theft is not a serious problem in Sunnydale, not compared to these other problems. Another prediction here: no more Rack in season 6. It was fun to play with that character. That's the end. I didn't even recognize him from his previous appearance, so I'm not going to have to... They don't want to keep him around so long that people think that there's a connection between these other characters. So thanks, character actor Rack. Next prediction here, Willow isn't giving up magic. She's going to use magic again. She's going to use magic probably next episode.
Can we just confirm this one now?
Don't elaborate, Mike. Just leave it as it is.
Okay.
That should have been a super prediction. Jeez.
Okay, well, I'll make
More
that
like
the
a
super then.
stupor
Thanks, dude.
prediction.
Stupor.
Can't all be good.
Okay, well, this Xander and Anya wedding is happening season 6. I mean, they're looking at bridal magazines, picking out cocktail dresses, like, or whatever Anya's weird culture coming out. So Xander, Anya wedding, season 6, and then the super. I think Amy and Willow are moving in together. I do not believe that Buffy will be comfortable with Willow still in the house. So I think like she's got a GTFO. So Amy and Willow move in together. Now, whether they're the dorms, I don't know, but they're moving in together. That's my super.
All right. I've been your host, Dennis St. John. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and .com at Dennis Comics. That's DENISCOMIX. You can buy my mini comics and monster stuff. It's fun. Thank you, one and all.
It's fun.
Thank you, one and all, for listening and talking to us at Buffy Virgin. Don't forget to rate us, and we hope you're subscribing. You can watch us on YouTube. Our Twitter is at Buffy Virgin Pod. Our Instagram is Buffy Virgin for Buffy Monster Drawings. You can also check us out at buffyvirgin.com. Reach out. We love to hear from you, and we'll see you in hell.